Hi, my name is Judy Kessinger. I'm the owner and the creator of the Fit Nice system. I designed this system to make your sewing easy. So today I want to show you something else that's easy. I call this section your unnecessary, necessary notions. And I'll bet you have some of those tools in your kitchen. So let's put some of these wonderful tools in your sewing room. Almost everything I'm showing you today can be purchased at Fashion Supplies, and you'll find that at the bottom of the video where you're going to go purchase those notions. But let me show you some of my favorite ones. Now, if you've followed me along many of these videos, you see that we keep drawing patterns over and over and over again. And I keep telling you a marker, a marker, a marker, a marker. I use a black marker when I'm showing you all this so that it shows up a little bit better. But you can go Walmart if you want to. I like washable markers. Anything that says children's washable markers. That way if it gets on your hands, you can go wash your hands. If it gets on your fabric, you can still wash it out. So I really encourage you to look for washable markers. Now let's go through some of these wonderful unnecessary, necessary notions. And one of them is a seam gauge. Literally, you would be just absolutely lost without this seam gauge because it's easy to mark things on your garments. It's easy to mark things on your patterns. So I really suggest you purchase, I don't even suggest you purchase one of these. I suggest you purchase 2 or 3 because I'm always burying mine under something else. This is called E6000. If you don't own E6000, I suggest you buy 2 tubes of it. One you put in your sewing room and the other one you put in your kitchen because you won't believe all the things you can glue back together again. I always joke this, Bob Vila could glue this whole house back together with E6000. I like this size tube because it's small. And those big tubes that they sell of that kind of glue, they dry up before you ever use it all. So I love this size tube. This you can buy on my website. This is simple to do. This is a magnetic wand. Now, you may think this is a silly tool, but oh my gosh, I don't, because that's how I pick up all my pins that I've dropped on the floor. It's also great if you happen to sew on carpet because you don't want to get those pins in your feet, so it's easy to find the pins with your magnetic wand. This is a pattern weight. Now, I'm sure you're all used to those little bitty pattern weights, which I love, and some of you may have made your own pattern weights, I don't know, but I absolutely love this pattern weight. Fashion Supply sells it in 2 different lengths. They sell it in a much longer length than this one. I bought 3 of these, so I like this size. I'll tell you one of the things I love the most about it. Have you ever worked with a slippery kind of fabric and you fold it in half and you try to keep it straight and it doesn't want to stay straight, it wants to move on you? You literally can put this on the selvage edge of that fabric and it won't move on you at all. So I really, really do love these weights. This is a pattern notcher. Now, what are you going to use that for? Well, anytime you have a pattern that you want to actually put a notch in, all you have to do is to put it in like this, and it literally puts, let me put this back down so you can see it, puts a notch right in your pattern. So like if you wanted to mark the center front of something and you wanted to make sure that you remembered where it was on the pattern, it's a really, really great thing to use the pattern notcher. Then we have the Simplex. Now, I love this tool because I have the same problem everybody else has, is to mark your buttons and buttonholes correctly. Do you see that it has little markers on there where you can actually draw in where your buttonhole is going to go? You can make it longer, you can make it narrow, whatever, however you want to do this. I also happen to love pleats. And if you go back on the variation, there's a variation called the Foxy Lady. And I love it because the trim on the edge of the jacket, they're all pleats, just little bitty tiny pleats. I did it in a knit and I even did it in a leather. And this is the way I marked it. So it really worked out great. So it's a really wonderful tool to have, and it really is one of those necessary notions. I love a magnetic seam guide. Now let me move these patterns over here because I want to show you exactly how you're going to use this tool. On your sewing machine, you have a little metal strip right here, and it tells you what the seam width, the seam guide is. This has a lip to it. So when I put this on my machine, I can move this magnetic seam guide either way, and I can get a really good edge. That way you can guide your fabric right next to the edge here, and you will have a perfect seam allowance every single time. When I go to class, one of the things that I see ladies fight with more than anything else is to keep their seam allowance straight. So if I tell you it needs to be a 1/2 inch, it needs to be a 1/2 inch the whole way. If I tell you it needs to be 5/8 of an inch, whatever I tell you, it needs to be the same distance all the way up and down. So this just helps you guide that. Now, the one thing I always hear from people, oh my gosh, they told me not to use magnets on my sewing machine, on my computerized machines. You would have to have a magnet that big stuck on the face of your machine to do anything to it. I promise you it's fine. But if you still don't believe me, it's okay. Don't use tape. Don't mark your sewing machine with tape. If you like broccoli, or you like asparagus, it comes with a great big fat rubber band. Don't throw them in the garbage can. You can literally put it over the free arm of your sewing machine, and again, it's a guide. If you're teaching somebody to sew, that's probably one of the most important things that you would teach them, is to sew straight. But in order to sew straight, you need a guide. And those little marks on your sewing machine, they're not as great as a seam guide. So invest in one of those. I love paintbrushes. I buy paintbrushes at a dollar store. You don't need expensive paintbrushes. And I like the ones with long handles because it's a great way to clean the inside of your machine, because you can get to it and you can dust it out. So I love long paintbrushes. Another magnet tool that I love, now my granddaughter loves this. What she does is she takes all the pins off and then she lines them all up like that, and then she plays with picking them all up again. She thinks that's really cool. I love it because when I sew and I put pins in things, I sit this next to my sewing machine and I literally can throw at it, and I usually hit it. I can throw at it and it sticks right to the magnetic pin cushion. I've talked many times about a glue stick. I suggest when you buy this glue stick, you buy 2 of them, maybe 3 of them, especially if you're married. Give one to your husband, tell him to take it to the office. You put one in your purse, and then you keep one with your sewing. Now, this glue stick is temporary. So if you glue 2 things together and you don't want it glued together anymore, wet it and the glue will disappear. So why is it good for the office? Hasn't he ever pulled anything off, like his hem came out or maybe a pocket came off or something? You literally could glue yourself back together again until you could get home and sew it. Don't get caught in the rain, because if you do, it comes apart. These are tapes that you use on dress forms. I love these tapes, and Fashion Supply has them in all different colors, and they even have them in different widths. I love them because I can literally tape on my dress form and get just a kind of better look as to what I'm looking at. You know, doing this on your own body is wonderful, but you can't stand back from your own body. When you tape on a dress form and you tape a different neckline, you literally can walk a few feet away from it, and your mind's eye can tell you if that's even or not. So I really do love these tapes. Now, at Fashion Supplies, they sell these wonderful little dress forms. I think they're so cute. I have mine because I put my jewelry on it, so I have a couple of these. But my granddaughter loves this little dress form because what she does is she takes scraps of fabric and she'll literally pin the scraps of fabric on here, and she's creating her new style. So she'll do that. She'll hand that to me and she'll say, "Grandma, now you can make this." So if you want to see something she designed, if you go back to the Lacy Miss, that's one of the downloads, she designed that garment, and she did it by playing with scraps and a dress form. So there's your unnecessary, necessary notions. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you've seen how simple and easy this system is to work with. All of the products you've seen in the video are available on my website or a link on my website. Please make sure while you're there to check out the classes to see where I am. Join me on Facebook under Fit Nice, and be sure to join the Fit Club. Thank you.